Hi everyone, Monique here, Intuitive Soul Savant. I'm an astrologer, numerologist and healer. Please check out my channel. Today I'm making this video, the Pluto in Virgo generation. I'm making it when the Sun is exactly trining Pluto in Capricorn. So that's the Sun in Virgo trining Pluto in Capricorn, and this will be the last time that we will feel the energies of Sun in Virgo trine Pluto in Capricorn. Next year, Pluto will be ingressing into Aquarius, and they don't quite meet up as an exact trine from the Virgo perspective. Okay, so this is the first of a series of videos on the generational transit of Pluto. And next month we'll be doing Pluto in Libra, then Pluto in Scorpio, Pluto in Sagittarius, and Pluto in Capricorn, finishing in January. But you can watch this video at any time. I'm just letting you know the energies that I'm living in while making this video. And I was also born as one of the Pluto in Virgo generation. So this channel has lots of different bits and pieces about the energies of the transformational planet of Pluto, demoted to an asteroid. However, that did not change the effects of the energies and the awakening of our consciousness regarding Plutonic energies. So let's get started. So the Pluto in Virgo generation, Virgo is a mutable sign. So mutable means easily changed, as opposed to the fixed signs, easily changed, adaptable, mutable. They're the people that say, I'm easy. If things change, they don't kick up a big stink, there's not a big issue about it, they are adaptable. So that's what the mutable energy is. And the other mutable signs are, of course, Pisces, Virgo's opposite, and Sagittarius and Gemini. They're the 4 signs of the astrological wheel that are placed as mutable energies, easily changed. Now, the Pluto first went into Virgo on the 20th of October, 1956, and stayed there just for a few months till the 15th of January, 1957. It then retrograded back into Leo and then went into Virgo, ingressed into Virgo again on the 19th of August, 1957 to the 6th of October, 1971. It then went into Libra for a short period of time and ingressed back, retrograded back into Virgo from the 18th of April, 1972 to the 30th of July, 1972. So if your parents or yourself, of course, if yourself or your parents or big brothers and sisters, aunties and uncles, if they were born between 1956 and 1972, just if they're born at the early stages of 56, you'll need to have a look whether they do exactly have the Pluto in Virgo, okay? But this video is for the generality of the Pluto in Virgo generation. Now, we can't have Pluto in Virgo generation without looking at Uranus in Virgo, or Saturn in Pisces, or Chiron in Pisces. There was an opposition between Pluto and Uranus opposing, in Virgo, opposing Chiron and Saturn in Pisces. Now, that opposition of those 4 energy beings was very intense. was intense then. It caused social change across the world. And it's also very intense in the energy signatures of those born at the time. So Uranus went into Virgo in November 1961 till January 1962. And then again from August 1962 to September 1968. Then again in May 69 till June 1969. Now, I don't want to confuse you with these dates. These dates will be in the description box so you can understand exactly those times. And if you're looking at other people's charts or your family's charts, you'll be able to get an idea of whether it was in Virgo or Leo or Libra. Okay, the other side of Virgo. Now, there was the 3-degree conjunction of Uranus and Pluto in Virgo was 18th of September 1964 to August 1967. So the babies that were born between September 64 and August 1967 have the Pluto and Uranus within 3 degrees of each other. So those years are very important. There's 64 to 67. Those Pluto in Virgo children had more intense energy that they've been born with the Uranus-Pluto exact conjunction or within 3 degrees. The exact conjunction of Uranus with Pluto was the 10th of October, 1965 at 17 degrees and 10 minutes. So anyone with Pluto in Virgo around 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 degrees definitely had the Uranus conjunction in 1965. Okay. Chiron entered Pisces in March 1960 to August 1960, and again in January 1961 to April 1968, and again in October 1968 to January 1969. Now, there were 8 exact oppositions between Pluto and Chiron, the wounded healer, between July 61 at 6 degrees of Virgo and Pisces, and November 65, so within 4 years, there was 8 oppositions between Pluto and Chiron. And the last degrees was 18 degrees. So between 6 degrees and 18 degrees of Virgo and Pisces between 1961 and 1965, that energy is very intense, with Chiron being the wounded healer. So they're in this Pluto Virgo generation, there is 3 years that a group of babies born, souls born, a generation that had very challenging aspects that they were born with in their birth chart. And that's Uranus conjunct Pluto in Virgo, and Chiron in Pisces, and Saturn in Pisces. And I'm one of those. I'm born in 1966. So I very much understand the challenges of the Pluto in Virgo generation. Saturn entered Pisces in 1964 to March 1964 to September 1964. Then again in December 1964 to March 1967. There were 3 exact oppositions. So there was 1 conjunction between Uranus and Pluto, exact. There were 8 oppositions between Pluto and Chiron, including Pluto conjunct Uranus and Chiron. And there were 3 exact oppositions between Pluto and Saturn. And that was the 65, early 66 generation, which I come into. Okay, so the Pluto's keywords or its archetypal energies, the way that we're going to look at this Pluto in Virgo generation, a lot of the archetypes and the keywords that I'm going to explain in this video, you could almost put to a Sun in Virgo native. But the difference is our sun sign, it's not that we are born into our sun sign and we are those archetypal energies. We are here to master and learn those archetypal energies through our sun sign. With Pluto, it's a little different. Those archetypal energies we are aware of, we have mastered. However, are we with power or are we without power concerning those energies? That's what Pluto in a sign will reflect the sun sign of that energy. However, it's a different coloring because it's more about whether we have power or are we powerless in those energies. Whereas a sun in Virgo is learning to be a Virgo, learning the Virgo energies. And this is what we need to know about astrology. When people say, what sun sign are you? They believe, oh, right, you've got all that covered. Well, no, you haven't. You haven't got it covered. You're here to learn and evolve through those energies with the light of the sun. And we may have many incarnations as a sun in Virgo. Each time mastering. But when we have Pluto in an energy, that is generational. So 12 years, well, Pluto takes a different amount of time to transit through each sign. And I will do a video on that. The longest that Pluto is in a sign is in Taurus, 30 years. Pluto has just transited Capricorn, that's about 15, 16 years. Pluto will be ingressing into Aquarius for 20 years. So it's a different amount of time. Pluto in Scorpio is the shortest amount of time that Pluto transits through a sign. So this is a group of people that are all born, in Virgo's case, 12 years, 13 years, and these people will all be working at the same goal of empowering themselves through the energies of Virgo, or being aware of a disempowerment through the energies of Virgo, depending on the rest of your chart. So Pluto, we'll talk about it as power or lack of power when we're talking about the generational influences. Pluto rules death, transformation, and rebirth. Now, Virgo's keywords or the archetypal energies of Virgo, and I'll go through these. Now, these energies can be conscious, like we're totally aware of them, or we could be unconscious to these energies, and that is our journey. Now, number one Virgo archetypal energy is service to others. And consciously, we realize that we're a generation of people that are here to serve humanity. Now, on the mundane level, that could be talking about an occupation in a service industry. You'll find a lot of Virgos in hospitality industry. There's many service industries where you'll find Virgo workers. However, on the unconscious level, because we are here to serve, if our early patterns, our family dynamics have been over self-serving, giving too much to others, then we are going to have an issue with this. And it's the Pluto energy that is going to teach us whether we are in empowered service or we have disempowered ourselves through over servicing others without balance, over giving. Now, with Virgo, we have to keep remembering that the polarity, the opposite is Pisces, and Pisces can be people pleasers. So Virgos may carry the disempowerment of the Pisces energy within their own selves, of giving service, over servicing, giving too much of ourselves. However, when we're empowered, we're here to be of service to humanity in a balanced way. Helping others. Pluto and Virgo generation are here to help others, to help humanity. On board, we have a gift of many traits that can be of service to others. However, if that's unconscious, we can disempower ourselves by rescuing others rather than helping others in a balanced way. A Virgo, Pluto and Virgo generation are very much into self-purification. The Virgin is the maiden. Self-purification, purity, the color white, the Virgin. So the Virgo, the Pluto and Virgo generation are very much here to self-purify. And that can become unbalanced if there is a level of perfection. Another key word of Virgo. Perfection. This can lead the Pluto Virgo generation into a lack of happiness, self-pity, a feeling of unfulfillment, and disappointment. Because when perfection is carried to the nth degree, it is imbalanced. There is no such thing as perfection. We can strive for a betterment of ourselves, but to strive for perfection is very damaging, very disempowering. And with that can lead to a lack of happiness. Always striving for perfection. We create low self-esteem within ourselves when we are always striving for that perfection of ourselves. Purity. Virgo in the Pluto in Virgo generation have strived for purity. Purity in our foods, clothing materials, hemp and cotton and what have you. Very aware of the naturalness of life, the Pluto in Virgo generation. And they strive for that purity as an idealistic life. However, on a positive note, the Pluto and Virgo generation can create structures for high ideals to thrive in. Pluto in Virgo generation, with that perfection, we're always aware of what's missing, what can be done better. But it's a fine line, because if we head into the perfectionistic trait of Virgo, we're in trouble, because we just can't get there. We just can't get that idealism in place, because the goalposts are always moving in life. Everything is changing. Pluto and Virgo generation are very perceptive. They're very aware of what's in front of them. They can be fussy. Now, they're fussy because they're always striving for this perfection, which eventually they realize is exhausting and most of the time unattainable. I just had a thought. Beyonce. Beyonce is a Virgo. Now, Beyonce is such a hard-working dancer, singer, what have you. It's only now, I think I read the other day, that she, throughout her Virgo life, Sun in Virgo, she's aware of how perfectionistic she has been with her career. She made great shows with that perfectionistic trait. However, it can be exhausting. And so now she's very happy to do her best, but not keep pushing and beating herself up over everything being perfect. So we become fussy when we're trying to get everything first perfect. And we're disruptive. The Pluto Virgo generation can be very destructive and disruptive, trying to attain this perfection and this idealistic way of how everything can be. And we're disruptive because getting into other people's business, or if we're working with others, we're expecting them to come along with us and be as perfection orientated as we are. And that doesn't work for others. Everybody is different, and it takes all kinds on this planet. We bring that clarity, that perspective of what the ideal is. However, the group may not reach that ideal. And therefore, that's when the mutable energy needs to be activated, and we get along with everybody and we come to where they are at. Pluto in Virgo generation, very detailed on orientated. And this is a great trait. This is a wonderful trait. However, when it's taken too far, we may never present our work because it's not quite perfect enough. Therefore, we don't give anything. We get stuck in the details of the job rather than the presenting of the job. Virgos are great at dotting the I's and crossing the T's. These Pluto and Virgo generation, they're the people that you need when you need those I's dotted and the T's crossed. You know, they're the people that you need in your endeavors to have that eye for detail if you don't, or if others in your organization don't. Pluto and Virgo generation are very organized. They love organization. They cannot work in chaos. However, that organization can be taken too far. Perfection in organization. And when we are intensely focused, the Pluto Virgo generation, it can come across as distant and unapproachable. And nobody wants to come across as unapproachable. However, if we get carried away, out of balance with the intense focus, that's the way we come across. With this perfectionism and detail, we can become critical. Virgo and Pluto generation, it comes across as criticism rather than us seeing the ideal or seeing the perfect product. It can come across to others as criticism. And this can be very damaging to our children and to our friends and to the people that we spend our daily lives with, because Virgo rules the 6th house of our daily structures. So Virgo, Pluto and Virgo generation like structure. They like to have a structure to be able to reach the highest ideal that is still balanced. Now, if we're too overly critical, that criticism is turned in on ourselves. Pluto and Virgo generation, very self-critical, because we see what's wrong. We see what can be fixed. We see how we could take it to the nth degree and have it perfect. And if we're not choosing our words correctly, that can come across as criticism. And then it can be turned inward on ourselves as self-criticism. The Pluto and Virgo generation have the gift of being sensual. Pluto and Virgo generation, alternative therapies, massage, healing, touch. So they're very good at hands-on healing, the Pluto and Virgo generation. Virgo is ruled by Earth. So the Pluto and Virgo generation do very well in nature, surrounding themselves with nature. This will give a grounding to the randomness of nature that we can gain from going into nature. So very random. It's perfect in its imperfection. And if we could learn that through nature, that will help us to balance the Pluto in Virgo energies and be empowered by Pluto in Virgo rather than disempowered. The nature can transform the Pluto in Virgo generation. Pluto in Virgo generation were the first of the self-improvement generation. And we needed to be, because with Pluto in Virgo and Uranus in Virgo, the changeability of life in the 60s was extreme. I don't think it was as extreme as the changes that Pluto in Aquarius will bring. However, it was extreme from the baby boomers and then the Pluto in Virgo generation. We needed to heal. Pluto in Virgo are the healers. So there was a lot of generational healing that needed to take place after the trauma of the wars, and then the open-minded and consciousness expansion of the 60s. There was a lot of self-improvement within each individual's self. And being hard workers as Virgo, Pluto and Virgo energies, we're hard workers at our self-development. It's a lifelong duty to ourselves as the Pluto in Virgo generation. And remember, we brought that energy in, which therefore affects the collective. Each generation of each Plutonic generation, from the Pluto in Cancer, they are still alive on the planet. The Pluto in Leo, still alive on the planet. They're the baby boomers. And then having children, the Pluto in Virgo generation, there was a lot of hard work going on. Our Pluto in Leo generation, who created from the aftermath and poverty of the wars, were very hard workers. Our parents created all that is now the baby boomers. And the Virgo and the Pluto and Virgo generation had that example of hard work from our parents. The downside, the unconscious side of being a hard worker, is that we can be very critical of those who don't work as hard as what we do. Frustration with others that don't have the hard work ethics that the Pluto and Virgo generation have. And that Pluto and generation, were very much taught workaholism. You worked your guts out, was what I was told. You're a goer if you work hard. There was a lot of emphasis was put on working hard. However, as an unconscious aspect, workaholism, avoiding ourselves, avoiding what's going on in the inner body, distracting ourselves with hard work. And with hard work, it looks like we're doing great in life. We could be not giving attention to our families by workaholism. So there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance. But the balance didn't come until the Pluto in Libra generation, which is from 1972 onwards. So the Pluto in Virgo generation were a little imbalanced when it came to working hard. And if you ask many of those people now, their bodies are breaking down in their 40s, 50s, and 60s due to smashing our bodies with workaholism, believing that that was the right thing to do. However, our bodies are paying for it now. The Pluto and Virgo generation are very loyal and regard loyalty in others because they are very loyal. Pluto and Virgo generation are very persistent at their goals. They're an earth sign. They're the second of the 3 earth signs, and they will keep working until they get the job done. They're also able to put up with extremely uncomfortable situations. The Pluto in Virgo generation have been born into a society that was very much into working and building the society after the eras of war. We were Generation X, the latchkey kids. We believed that we had to care for ourselves. We had to look after ourselves because our parents weren't home when we came home from school. They were working in businesses. The Pluto in Virgo generation, a lot of this generation worked in their parents' businesses, not because they wanted to, because they had to. And they were told that they had to do it because that's what kids did. They worked in their family businesses. So many of us started work at the age of 7 and younger in family businesses. And I don't believe in that now. As a Pluto in Virgo generational person, I don't think that was the right way to go. I think children should be able to be free and not encumbered with having to work at a truly young age. Even though it was good for us, it gave us skills to be able to open our own businesses and what have you. It was work, 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 and it was less discovering our creative abilities. Pluto and Virgo generation are very concerned with alternative medical choices. And that's great because that opened up a whole lot of areas for alternative medicine for the collective, for everybody. And so that generation are very concerned with these, with our health. Virgo rules health and exercise. So the Pluto and Virgo generation, whether they did focus on their health or focus on exercise, it is an issue in their life. And, you know, on the other side, in the second part of my life, I am committed to structuring my life with healthy foods, healthy attitudes, and also exercise. So even though it might have been a struggle when I was young, I always knew that that's what I had to do, but it was a struggle. So the Pluto and Virgo generation, we weren't just, the best exercises and the healthiest people. That they were the issues that as a generation, we were working through to enable and to herald in the energies for the rest of humanity to take on health and exercise. Remembering that the whole ideal is to come back to our wholeness. Each generation is bringing in and evolving through energies for the collective and for each individual to be the wholeness that we were born to be, without all of the dysfunctional beliefs that life and different generations get caught up in with. So the Pluto generation are also, Pluto and Virgo generation are also really good at being introspective regarding our thoughts and behaviors. We're self-reflective. We have the ability to be able to look at our behaviors and self-reflect and make adjustments. Self-development, once again. You know, with the being a Virgo trait is neat and tidy and organized, okay? We know that. So the Pluto in Virgo generation, neat and tidy, because the Pluto in Virgo generation, we desire clarity. When you've got clarity, organization, there's a purity that we like to have. And therefore, we are able to create from that place better than creating from chaos. So the Pluto and Virgo generation desire clarity of purpose and mental purpose. Without that, so without the clarity and disorganization and what have you, we have mental and psychological distress. Remember that Mercury rules Virgo, the mind, analytical mind, a more structured mind. And without that structure, and if there's chaos, it's mental and psychological stress. This is the generation that requires mental health therapy. I know that because of my generation. These are the people that are pushing hard into therapy to heal patterns from previous generations that are no longer serving us in this time and the energy that's on planet now. Pluto and Virgo generation can sacrifice themselves, putting others first. Remembering the polarity of the Virgo is Pisces, self-sacrificial, the victim, and having Leo, Pluto and Leo parents. You know, Pluto and Leo parents' message was, you know, children should be seen and not heard. The parents are the boss. They're the king and the queen. They know everything. So children of the Pluto and Leo generation are very used to putting others first, sacrificing ourselves. Because remember, a positive aspect of this is helping others, service to others. However, when it's not balanced, we can go into this sacrificing ourselves, people pleasing, rescuing others. Imbalance of the Pluto in Virgo energy. Pluto in Virgo generation don't like restriction. They like freedom and travel and mobility, being a mutable sign, being able to change. These are the desires of the Pluto in Virgo. And remember, Pluto and Virgo generation are squaring all planets in Sagittarius and all planets in Gemini. And both Gemini and Sagittarius love to be on the move, whether it's on the move internationally or whether it's in the local area. They like to be on the move. So having Pluto in Virgo is squaring that energy. And that means action. Something's got to give. It's not a stuck energy, the square. Pluto in Virgo generation can enjoy the simple things in life, being an earth sign. You know, this is the generation that would go and live out on the off-grid. They would love that. Transformation and reincarnation is the Pluto in Virgo generation, because the 60s were the transformation of consciousness. So with each life, with each generation that comes through, there's an expansion of consciousness. And this is why babies that are born now are so much more aware than their parents. as humanity evolves in consciousness, each generation that are born with the energies of that consciousness. Okay, so think about the 60s, free love and peace and happiness and no war. That is the Pluto in Virgo generation. Don't want the war. And remember, Virgo opposing the Saturn in Pisces and the Chiron in Pisces. There's a lot of that victim, but the spirituality of it too. You may find that when you meet the Pluto and Virgo generation, they're the ones that are interested in spiritual matters. I started studying astrology at 17 years of age, 40 years ago, when all you would find is a magazine, an astrology magazine. The internet wasn't around, and therapy in Australia wasn't as popular as what it was in the United States. So, you know, we were still having to find healing within ourselves without the therapy that is on planet now. Remember, the Pluto in Virgo generation heralded in the popularity of therapy, self-healing, self-development. And I will say, being opposing the Saturn in Pisces and Chiron in Pisces, addiction issues. Where does addiction issues come from? Avoiding the self, avoiding the pain of the self. Where does that pain come from? The patterns of the previous generations. So addiction issues is still a big thing for those that were born in the Pluto in Virgo generation. Yes, addiction issues are with the other generations, but mostly the Pluto in Virgo generation. I put on a school reunion for all the children born in all the kids at the high school, you know, born in the 60s. This was only 2 years ago. And many of them have died. Many of them are suicided because it's a hard incarnation. It was a very hard incarnation. It was in the middle of everything. It was in the middle of change, like the old fashioned and the new fashioned. And in between that was the Pluto in Virgo generation. Quite confusing for those souls. Pluto and Virgo generation, they run a tight ship, organised. They're the people that you want to get in and organise the funeral or to do this or to do that. Let them have the reins. They'll do a great job. Don't get controlly with them because they really are gifted at being organised. They're smart, having the Mercury ruling the Virgo, and analytical, being able to analyse situations for the perfect road forward, if you know what I mean. There is a place for perfection. You know, the downside, the unconsciousness, is they can get frustrated when things don't go to plan. However, being mutable, they should be able to maneuver into a different perspective when things haven't gone to plan. So it's not from control issues. They don't get frustrated because they want to control how everything goes. It leads back to that perfectionism. It's perfection issues. The analytical, they look at why things occur so that they can fix them. All right. So they might ask too many questions, but it's only because they're trying to get a picture in their mind of how it could be done better the next time. They're intellectually curious. They're disciplined and conscientious and naturally responsible. Because of that, taking care of others. It's not the same responsibility as the Capricorn, where Capricorn holds an energy of responsibility and everybody just seems to push their responsibilities or responsibility itself onto them. This is a responsibility that's taken up by the Virgo. They will put their hand up, I will be responsible, because of that taking care of others. They can be very ambitious with that intense focus that they have. they can be quite successful. There's a sense of duty when it comes to their family life, okay? And that may be due to being latchkey kids and having to fend for ourselves. You know, I was very aware with my son that wasn't going to be his life. I was going to be more present and hear him rather than shutting him down so much. The Pluto and Virgo energy, you know, we carry an urge to change the world. And why wouldn't we? The world was changing when we were born, from the old-fashioned 40s, 50s to the digital internet era. I mean, we were born on either side of those energies, the middle. And if you can imagine, you know, born with the strong oppositions with Pluto, Uranus, Chiron, and Saturn in Pisces, in the 60s, it was all about let's change the world. You know, the Pluto conjunct Uranus, big changes in society and the way that society was structured and the way that society operated and the way that the family system operated as well. You know, Pluto and Virgo generation are searching for a purpose. They need a purpose. And what they eventually find is their purpose. They already had it deep within them. So off they went on this self-development journey, only coming full circle back to themselves, realizing that they had that purpose all along. Pluto and Virgo generation thrive when they're confronted with challenges, because they're here to fix. We're here to assist others, to serve humanity. So any challenges that come up, we thrive with that, right? Let us have a go. Analyze, work things out. That's the mutableness, the adaptability of the Pluto in Virgo generation. And to evolve, for the Pluto and Virgo generation to evolve, Pluto and Virgo need to change their attitudes when dealing with less amiable people. Not everyone is like them. Not everyone has to have it perfect. Not everyone is here to serve humanity. And not everyone is here to heal their traumas. And trauma for the generation of the Pluto in Virgo generation of the late 50s, early 70s is healing the trauma of the ancestors. And that is where the Pisces energies come into place, the polarity of the Pisces energy. The Pluto and Virgo generation came into this world to work on issues of self-esteem and self-improvement towards perfection. And I laugh because I know there's no perfect human being. And if you're born of this generation, once you work that out, then you can be kinder to yourself, and life is a whole lot easier to live day to day when we are not beating ourselves up about being perfect. And that, you know, you guys have watched me with this YouTube. I'm sure a lot of the time I haven't produced work because it's not perfect enough. However, that is my practice with this YouTube channel, is to present content, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do the job, Monique. And this is something that I'm still learning and will perfect in this lifetime. The Pluto generation, we introduced the punk and the hip hop and the grunge era. Kurt Cobain, 1966 born, my age, didn't make it because of the frustration with society. It's not what our ideals thought it should be. Being too idealistic as a Pluto and Virgo person can be debilitating. Okay, we can walk towards our ideals and the perfect thing. However, we need to continually know that we're probably never going to make it to perfection. So the Pluto in Virgo generation brought the explosion of the self-help industry. And so the natives of Pluto and Virgo have that within, always trying to be a better person. And if that's in balance, that's a great thing to have. Generation X, we were the least parented and the least nurtured. So therefore, there's going to be trauma. I'm not good enough. There's going to be self-esteem issues. They weren't bothered with me. So we needed self-help. We needed self-improvement to overcome those deep, deep issues. Okay, so it's a big thing. Lifelong the lifelong self-defining pursuits of the Virgo, Pluto and Virgo generation, right? These are up in lights. Therapy, healing, trauma, diet and exercise, organic foods, and veganism. And also, I'd like to add an awareness of the planet and the damage that humanity and society are causing the planet. And I was very, very aware of that, even wrote a song about it in my 20s before climate change or anything like that was even spoken of. I was aware that things could not continue the way they were with the rubbish that we were throwing out and the consumerism and what have you. Things would need to change. And the Pluto and Virgo generation, very aware of the nature. Okay. So we're still alive. We've still got hopefully 40 years left to live. So there's still a lot to do. And refining this idea of perfectionism is the way to go. Defining that so that we do our best and our best is enough. And any traumas from our ancestors need to be looked at. But above all, go easy with the perfectionism. And of course, service to others. Service to others. We have those gifts to be able to serve humanity and guide humanity into a healthier way to treat our bodies and each other and therefore life. Okay. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be back making a video, and I'm not even going to promise any more as yet. We'll just see how things flow. So thank you, everyone. Namaste. Tune in if you're Pluto in Libra generation. I'll be doing a video next month, and these will all be in the playlists for you to reflect back on.